Odd Taxi is a great mystery anime airing this season. It's one of the best shows right now, but a lot of people have been turned off by the art style. If you aren't watching this show though, you're missing out. I wanted to talk about the mystery in this show and do my best to piece it together. For the sake of this video, it's necessary for me to spoil what we've been shown in the show so far. For that reason, I would strongly recommend watching the show and coming back to this video afterwards. But I know that's a lot to ask. I think that presenting the mystery and what we know might motivate those who are on the fence about watching it to catch up and help solve it. But again, if you really don't want to be spoiled, I'd recommend that you watch the show and then come back. I think that this show has the potential to be a classic anime, so I'd recommend that you experience it for yourself first. If you're still here and haven't seen the show, I'll briefly recap what we've seen so far. Odokawa is a middle-aged taxi driver. The show follows him and the people he encounters on the job. As the show progresses, we learn that all the passengers he picks up are interconnected in different ways, and that not everything is as it seems. To start, I'll be talking about the central mystery of the show. At the center of Odd Taxi's mystery is the missing high school girl. We hear about her in the first episode, and since then we've been given a few clues. Who is she and where is she? At this point in the show, we can likely put the pieces together ourselves. Several weeks ago, a security camera recorded Odokawa picking up the missing high school girl in his taxi. An organized crime group, which we'll assume is the Yakuza, became aware of this. A corrupt cop named Daimon confiscated Odokawa's dashcam data, which showed Odokawa picking up the missing girl. In episode 3, Odokawa's friend Kakihana overhears a conversation. A Yakuza named Kuroda is talking to his henchman Dobu about the missing girl. Their conversation gives us a couple of important details. First, the Yakuza are involved in the search for this girl, and second, the girl is the daughter of the classmate of someone that seems to be higher in rank than either of them. Kuroda says that allegedly the girl ran away because of the connection between the Yakuza and her father. So where's the missing girl now? We likely already know. Mitsuya in the idol Mystery Kiss is the missing girl. Mitsuya has had her identity and career stolen by the missing girl. Mystery Kiss has been around for a while, but they recently debuted their new look. There's a single time that we see Mitsuya pre-debut, and it's only for a brief moment in Imai's flashback, but it gives us all the proof that we need. For convenience sake, we'll have to call the real Mitsuya, Mitsuya A, and the fake Mitsuya, Mitsuya B. If you compare the appearance of Mitsuya A and B, we can start to see the difference. Mitsuya A has blue eyes, while Mitsuya B has green eyes. Mitsuya A has fur that sticks out by her ears, Mitsuya B does not. Mitsuya B is also the only one to have fur between her ears. Imai is Mystery Kiss's biggest fan, and he noticed that since the group's public debut, Mitsuya's dancing has gotten sloppy. Also, as part of the contract for their debut, both background idols were required to wear masks in public at all times. When the news reported that the missing girl was last spotted at a convenience store, they actually showed Mitsuya A leaving the convenience store. That means that they mistook Mitsuya A for the missing girl. I think it's very likely that the missing girl is now living out Mitsuya A's former life as an idol. We can only theorize about where Mitsuya A is now. But why did this happen? The reason is because Mystery Kiss's manager, and by extension the group themselves, have ties to the Yakuza. Yano is Dobu's rival within their organization. The manager of Mystery Kiss, Yamamoto, gets a call from who we can assume to be Yano in episode 2. Their conversation is then as follows. In episode 3, Dobu makes a deal with Odokawa. One of the conditions for this deal is that when one of Yano's henchmen asks for the dashcam data, Odokawa will tell Dobu who it is. Remember their deal, because we'll be coming back to it later. Eventually what Dobu predicted happens, is Yamamoto arranges for himself and the idols to get into Odokawa's cab. Yamamoto asks for Odokawa's dashcam data, and Odokawa realizes then that Yamamoto is Yano's henchman. But Yamamoto still doesn't know Odokawa's name, so he asks for his business card. All three of the idols are in on the conspiracy. Mitsuya herself obviously knows that she isn't the real Mitsuya, and it doesn't seem like she's being held against her will. When Yamamoto answered the call from Yano, he answered as if Nikaido knew who he was talking to. Later, Ichimura says this to Yamamoto. So to recap, there are two separate groups of Yakuza who are operating independently under Kuroda. Dobu and Yano both work directly under Kuroda, and both are keeping secrets from him. Yamamoto works under Yano, and the idols in the missing girl are working under Yamamoto. But there's one character who is still a mystery, and that's Sekiguchi. The only time we've seen him, he stood with Yamamoto as they watched the idol Ichimura go on a date with Kakihana. That brings us to the next topic. Ichimura comments on how she doesn't understand why she has to go on dates with old men. She's also dating Kakihana. Kakihana lied in his bio and said he was making 20 million yen a year. While this is a lot of money, it isn't enough for the Yakuza to target his fortune specifically. It seems that the idols are running some sort of scam where they get money from rich old men. The reasons for this are still unclear. Why are both of these groups of criminals after Odokawa in the first place? I have a theory, but this is much weaker than the other stuff I'm presenting in this video. In episode 1, we hear Odokawa talking to someone in his house. They don't answer him, but he tells them that they're free to leave at any time. Most people have assumed that this is the missing high school girl. Like I talked about earlier though, the missing high school girl has replaced Mitsuya A. So Mitsuya A then should be the one in Odokawa's house. Odokawa even says he's been hooked on Mystery Kiss in episode 6, which I think is alluding to this. If Mitsuya A is in Odokawa's house, it means that more than likely she's decided to hide with him without the knowledge of the Yakuza, and they are trying to find her. I think that this is probably the truth, but I still want to present another theory that I thought of. I think it is possible that Odokawa is in on the conspiracy and is working with Yano's group to hide Mitsuya A. But that seems impossible. When Odokawa drove the idols and Yamamoto in his car, they'd never met before. That's what I thought, but one thing has been bothering me. For exactly one shot in episode 5, we see through the perspective of Odokawa's dashcam. And for some reason, it's presented as a live video feed. Is this just a stylistic choice, or is he being watched? I think it's possible that Dobu, or someone much higher up in the organization than Dobu, is watching Odokawa's car through the camera feed disguised as a dashcam. In this scenario, Odokawa and Yamamoto put on the appearance that they've never met before to hide the fact that Odokawa is hiding Mitsuya A from the rivals within the organization. I also think it's possible that Odokawa is hiding someone completely different in his house, and the audience is being led to believe that he's hiding Mitsuya. I have another theory that I haven't seen anyone else talk about. I think it is possible that Odokawa may be ex-Yakuza. In episode 2, Kakihana tells Odokawa that he should get married to make his parents proud. Odokawa responds that he would rather help the support group who took him in after his parents abandoned him. Who is the support group that he's talking about? I'd like to propose the idea that the support group is the Yakuza themselves. When Odokawa and Kakihana talk about his past, Kuroda sits behind them. When Odokawa mentions the support group, the camera shifts to include Kuroda in the frame. I don't think this means that Odokawa and Kuroda are working together, but it could be a visual indicator to show the audience that Odokawa has ties to the Yakuza. However, Odokawa does not like criminals. I believe that he left the Yakuza, which is why two groups of Yakuza are now going after him. We're repeatedly shown glimpses of Odokawa's past in a strange art style, and it seems like he was involved with something that should have killed him. I think that the support group he mentioned earlier is what saved him. I didn't think this theory held much weight, but then I thought of something. Yakuza members traditionally have tattoos that cover their backs. So I began to look to see if there were any times that Odokawa had shown his uncovered back. And maybe this is just a coincidence, but the only time we've seen Odokawa shirtless at an angle that could show his back, it's conveniently covered up by an object in front of the camera. Also, when Dobu gets into his car the first time, Odokawa says that you guys are involved in this now, which seems to indicate that Odokawa immediately knows that Dobu is part of the Yakuza. He also asks if Daimon is friends with Dobu in episode 1. Even if Odokawa doesn't have a criminal past, he seems strangely aware of the criminal underworld. There's something strange going on with Odokawa's dashcam that I think will be an important clue to solving the overall mystery. In episode 1, Odokawa has his dashcam footage confiscated by Daimon. Daimon gives this footage to Dobu, who threatens Odokawa into working with him. Odokawa refuses to work with Dobu, but Dobu threatens Shirakawa, Odokawa's love interest. Suddenly the camera cuts to Shirakawa in the park. When we cut back to Odokawa, we see Dobu say that they have a deal. Part of the conversation here has been deliberately excluded to keep us from learning exactly what deal was made. But what's really interesting here is that once Dobu is left, the camera pans up to show that the wires of Odokawa's dashcam have been cut during the part of the conversation we didn't see. The next time that we get to see the inside of Odokawa's car is when he's giving Yamamoto a ride in episode 5. and when the camera moves to show the front of the car, we see that Otokawa's dashcam has been repaired. For some reason, destroying the dashcam was important to Dobu's plan, and repairing it happened off-screen. It was deliberately hidden from us. If it matters, the only time we've seen the perspective of looking through the dashcam that I mentioned previously, it's the very first scene that we see it repaired. But this brings us to another mystery, the lucky pen. In episode 1, for just a brief moment, we can see a red pen in Taiko's restaurant. Beginning in episode 2, Otokawa has this pen clipped to the sun visor next to his dashcam. From here until episode 5, the pen appeared every time that we saw the interior of his car. But when Yamamoto gets into his car in episode 5, Yamamoto takes the pen with him. When Imai gets into Otokawa's car in episode 6, this time he has the pen, and when he gets out he leaves it clipped to the seat. Every week on YouTube, alongside a new episode, an audio drama is released. Each of these audio dramas is narrated by the high school student Satoshi Nagashima, who showed up in episode 6. Satoshi explains how he accidentally ended up connecting to the wiretap and has been listening in. Later episodes make it clear, whoever is in possession of the pen can be heard by Satoshi. The pen itself is the wiretap. The pen has been circulating between the different characters. Are they all in on it, or is it just a coincidence that they've been passing it off to one another? The wiki has a full page about all the places the pen has been and who has given it to who. I'll link it in the description. If you've heard any theory about this show, it's the theory that the people of this world aren't actually animals, but rather are animals from the perspective of Otokawa. This could be either due to his mental illness, wrong medication, or sleep deprivation. To summarize it though, no one has referred to the people of this world being animals except for Otokawa, and his mentions of animals have led to strange reactions from the people around him. I won't get into every example, because I think enough people have already talked about this. One of the strongest pieces of evidence in support of this theory is the official music video for the opening song. In the video, several characters from the show appear in human form. The singer of the music video appears in Otokawa's cab and shifts between human and animal form. We also see one of the singers for the music video appear in the restaurant in episode 3. At the start of the video, the lucky pen is picked up by one of the singers. He brings it into Otokawa's car, and at the end of the video, he accidentally leaves it in the seat. I think that more than likely this is just a non-canon reference, but maybe it could become important later on. Kabasawa is a college student with dreams of going viral. His Twitter account actually exists. Looking through his posts, we can see that the creators of this show planned this out for quite a while. Kabasawa's first tweet is on September 1st, 2020. He tweets about mundane stuff for the next month and a half. I thought it was worth noting that he actually mentions the singer of the series' opening. On October 10th, he encountered Otokawa, where he took a selfie that happened to have Dobu in the background. His tweet went viral, and over the next few days, he would post about how he was interviewed by the local news because of it. On October 20th, he announced that he would be trying to catch Dobu. In episode 5, we saw this announcement video. It's a few days before Halloween as of episode 6. Kabasawa stopped his hunt for Dobu on November 7th, so in a few more episodes we should see what happens to him and why he surrendered. There's quite a few miscellaneous mysteries and connections between characters that are too interesting to leave out of this video, so I wanted to mention them here. Tanaka the gambling addict bit on an eraser when he was a kid. The one who scanned him out of the eraser, and later would fuel his obsession to pull the dodo in the gacha game, was Dobu. Dobu can also be read as ditch. In episode 1, Shirakawa gives Otokawa the eraser, which she probably got from Dobu. Speaking of Tanaka, he and the idols are working together. Mitsuya placed his phone in Otokawa's car so he could track where Otokawa lived. Ichimura says that she wouldn't be surprised if Nikaido had killed someone to get ahead in her career. In audio drama number 2, the idols decide to play 2 truths and a lie, and then put all 9 statements into a pile. 2 of the statements are, "I killed someone," and "I disposed of a dead body." The very first scene of the series appears to be a body bag falling to the bottom of the ocean. The final shot of the OP seems to be Otokawa falling into the ocean. Dobu also noticed that threatening Otokawa with drowning scared him. As the plot progresses, I expect the mysteries I talked about in this video to be answered. If you've already seen this show, I hope that you'll try to solve them with me. If you haven't but decided to watch this video anyways, I hope this will convince you to catch up on the show.